Hello everybody and welcome to another Houdini tutorial. Today is going to be a little bit more of a quick paced tutorial, as I just want to make a quick tutorial on pop advection, advecting something by volumes using particles. I found this is a really good task and tool to use when you're building something that you want to look like an ink drop or something kind of alien like a jellyfish, but you want to do something that out of particles. So I found this is a really quick and easy, simple way to make something like that. So let's get started. Because this is going to be a simple tutorial today, I'm not going to put down any lights. I think I might put down a distant light, simply because it works pretty well. I'm going to put down a geometry node. I'm just going to label this particles. And what should we do? So one of the easy ways we can approach this is that we can go to our pyro effects, we can go to our billy smoke or fireball, and we can build a volume out of that. So let's start with that technique. So we'll build a sphere. Because we're trying to do a quick and easy simple tip today, I'm not going to change too many things about the emitter. I'm just going to switch it to a Polygon Mesh as per default. I'm going to turn off what I don't need, and I'm just going to click billowy smoke and highlight the source and press enter. So you get your default setup. I would turn off max bounds because we're not really going to do anything much with that. And I'm going to change my timeline to something simple like 120. So let's just sim out just so you can get a general idea of what Pyro does. It does something like that. Pretty basic, not high res. So let's make this better. Let's make it more interesting. So I'm going to switch over to manual. And I'm going to say activation is going to start here. 48. Let's make it a 1. And after 48, I'm going to make it a 0. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, turn my temperature diffusion down to something like 0.4. Buoyancy, let's make that a 6. 0.1. 0.1. Let's go to the shape. I don't really need too much turbulence, but we'll just keep it as it is right now, because I find the higher you crank up your disturbance, the more the turbulence looks kind of weird. But I'll crank this up to, let's say, a 1. And I'll play around with this. Disturbance, I'm going to go to the block size of 5. Well, 0.5. So let's switch back over to auto update and let this sim out. So right now we have something like this. We could probably do better. I have a sneaking suspicion. So let's make this disturbance a 3 and manual. My best tip for Pyro is that you want to adjust all the settings you possibly can before you even to make your simulation look like the ideal simulation that you're trying to create, before you even touch the division size. Because as soon as you touch the division size, the more sub-steps are going to be added to your simulation. The more slow of the sim time is going to be. The longer it's going to be to maybe save out into a cache. So always adjust your Pyro setup before you even touch your division size. So I think I'm also going to increase my block size to maybe like something like 6. Let's make this a 3 because I feel pretty daring. Let's make 0.5. And we'll send that out. Remember to switch from manual to auto update. You could probably introduce more detail into the simulation by going to gas, turbulence, and we can play with that. Probably my favorite default one to go to. So now we have a little bit more detail in there. A little bit more turbulence. I think it works all right. I might adjust the keyframes just so a little bit earlier instead of this being on for 2 seconds. We'll move it to a second. It doesn't really matter where you place your keyframes. This is just an example. And there we go. So right now I'm going to go back over here, now that I'm happy with my default sim, and I'm going to adjust the division size. When you're using this for particle advection, the smaller your division size is, the more detail you're probably going to get with the location of your particles. And there we go. We have a lot of detail introduced into our simulation. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump out, don't mind that, turn off our particles, which was our emitter source, and jump into our Pyro import. So there's like a few things that we need and don't need. If we click on this, you can see the import Pyro Fields you can work with. Over here are the import Pyro visualization. Doesn't really contain your values, but if you go over to the import Pyro Fields, you have your heat to temperature, your fuel, in case you need them later on in your simulation. In this case, we don't really need them. We just need to save this out. So I'm going to go to my file cache, and I'm going to save this out. All right, so our cache is all ready to go. Let's play this through in real time, just so we can see how the sim works. And so basically our particle advection hopefully will move like that, which looks really nice. So what we'll do is we'll lay down a sphere of fear, and we'll put down a pop network. And we're going to put this in the second input and the sphere in the first input. For the sphere, we're going to switch this over to a Polygon Mesh, and we can change the shape however we see fit, but because this is just a demonstration, I'm going to leave it as a circle. So we'll go to the pop net, and we'll dive inside. So we'll notice straight away that it just generates particles on the surface. It doesn't really do anything. So how can we change that? You can go to here. I like deleting this. I'm going to, just for safety's sake, I'm going to change this over to use object transform. And then I'm going to go to pop advect by volumes. And we're going to lay that down. We're going to go back to the beginning, and we're going to go to use from second context geometry. Hold on a sec. So I found out a problem. The import Pyro visualization is not the one that I want. I want the import Pyro Fields, as those ones have my velocity attached to it. So I'm going to resim, and then I'll join you guys in a second. Sorry about that. All right, so here we go. It's already resimmed, and I'm using now my correct input for output for my Pyro Fields. And I'm going to go down here. I'm not going to delete. I think I'm going to go blast. And I'm going to go delete this. And delete not selected. So if we go back down here, something should happen. Yes. There we go. That works. So you can see the particles already being vected by the volume itself, which is exactly what we want, but you can already see a problem occurring. A, when the simulation freezes, so do the particles, and B, there's not enough particles to fully define the volume. So what you'll need to do is you need to go over here, and you'll need to crank this up to something silly, or whichever value works for you. I'm going to turn my life expectancy down to 1. And you can see this happening, which I think is really, really cool. So I'm just going to turn off the visualization guide for this. I also turned, for my pop advect by volumes, I turned this to update velocity so you can see what's happening. So you can see the particles getting advected. But you can also see them getting emitted from the source equally at the same time. So I think what we need to do is once again go to B20, turn down the constant activation to 1, switch this to 0. I'm going to do, let's play with fate. How about that? And before anything happens, I'm going to save my file. And I'm going to save it as particle advection. We'll switch this to 1.5. What's going on, buddy? He's throwing a fit for some reason. Interesting. Probably have to relink the cache. There we go. That works now. So now our particles do look like something like that. And that's pretty cool. But I think we can do a little bit better. I think they die maybe a little bit too soon, and I think there could be more of them. So we'll crank this up to something like that. And this is all based on your personal preferences. That looks cool. Now, when coloring particles, we have two options. We could come out here and create a color sock. And we can create our own, not graph color. Any color that we'd like. We could do a bounding box, we could do random, anything. However, I kind of prefer at this point with working with particles is to create a color inside my PopNet. So you can go to Pop Color, and you can go over here and ramp anything you'd like. You can do that with the alpha too. You can create some cool effects. So you can go red from here to something like purple. And then the metal, you could say I want blue. So let's see what that looks like. Cool, right? I think we could add more red or more red-based colors. So orange. That looks pretty cool. And that's how you advect particles by volumes. If you would like to render this, what you could do is what you will have to do is put down an attribute randomize and just make sure the P scale is where you'd like it to be. Or you can do attribute create, either way works. If I was just looking at this from this view, with no materials on, this is what it would look like. And that's simply, the reason it would look like this is because my render icon is still on my import Pyro Fields. Remember to turn that off so you can undisplay this. And it should default either to attribute randomize or whichever node that you've placed a render flag on. Now this is still way too big, so what you need to do is probably make it a little bit smaller, even more smaller, and add more particles as you see fit. I always find a glow node adds a certain level of interest to simulations like this. So that's what we'll do. I think what I'll also do is add a null at the end of this, so we understand that this is the end of the simulation. And we'll also put a render flag on this. It's already on there. Perfect. So we'll go up here. Sample, velocity blur is on. Excellent. Now what we can do, we can go to material, click glow, and we should get some glow happening. But we do need to enable emission so we can get that glow effect. If we hit purple, that's what it would look like. Yellow, green, etc. So you can already see by adjusting these glow values, I can create a more interesting simulation. And that's all you need to know for particle advection. My name is Kate, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya! Bye!